Okay, Wade, so I wanted to show you a real quick way of how I would set this up. Now, keep in mind, if you go to analytics and reports here, Wade, there's not going to be anything necessarily that's specific for endurance coaching, Ironman training, things like that. If you pull a training summary, you will get some of that information, okay? So I can pull up an individual athlete, right, filter my dates, and then I will have things like total duration of the training session, perceived intensity, or reps. If you had someone do something like laps or something like that, will all be tracked here, and you can add those up, okay, over time for total work capacity for the week, okay. And the way I would set this thing up to make it really, really easy for you to keep an eye on, as well as for the athletes to read and execute, would be to find the day of training you want to add. So I'm going to add training here today. It's still the 26th in the States, so I'm going to add this. And I would actually add 2 sessions, Coach. The first one I would do as my aquatics or my water work, okay? Put any notes in, then I can actually pull in what I want. I would set up specific movements, Coach, like you had 100-meter swim in there. I built out that exercise, okay, or like a super long swim, okay? Or you could just keep it really simple and have swimming and then write your instructions here in exercise notes, but you can track this however you want, okay? So I'd set up, maybe let's specify this thing a little bit. Let's go, let me clear my filters here. 100-meter swim, I want you to do 6 of them, okay, and I want you to record. I don't need you to record distance because I'm already telling you how far you want to go, so I want you to record time, and that's really all I need to tell these folks, okay? You could put RPE there if you want perceived exertion. Usually, Coach, what I recommend is that you give the athletes as little to worry about. You don't want them to be paralyzed by data, okay, and entering data. We want them to execute the movements and do it perfectly. So I give them, freedom to enter the most important thing, so we want their time, and I'm going to put things like perceived exertion or stroke or things of that nature in the exercise notes so they can execute that, and you can track this like any other movement, Coach, looking at time progress in that movement, and I can run simple reports in our classic reports to do that. Okay, so I would set this up here as its own session. That way, when I'm hovering over the training, we'll go back to the calendar here in a second. You can actually hover over it and see exactly what was going on. And then if you want to do weightlifting that day, okay, later in the day, you can add a new session here very simply, or do that right from the calendar. And now you have 2 separate sessions, and what that does, Coach, is it makes it much easier for you to track both of these separately. Instead of imagine like A block being your swim, and then 3 hours later, they're going to jump into the gym and finish the rest of the training. Now I can just track this swim session as if it was its own thing. Okay, so if we jump back to the team's calendar here, okay, you're going to notice I'll go to the team. There's the weightlifting team. That's the team I put on. Now you're going to see I have 2 sessions here. Okay, Coach, so if I publish this first session swimming, I can easily just jump into the calendar, the athlete's calendar, real quick, pick the athlete, hover over, and I can see exactly how long it took them, what their readiness score was, and how intense it was, how much of it they did, okay? And then they can have the rest of their training here for the remainder of the day. But that all goes back to the point. This is the quickest way to do it, Coach. If you jump into analytics and reports, there's a ton of stuff you can do in here, and track, and I can even use classic reports to track things like participation and practice. There isn't going to be something on here that's for a total week's work capacity or load for the week or volume for the week. Okay, you can do that simple addition by pulling the training summary and things like that. So I hope that answered your question, Wade. If not, let me know. I can reiterate some of those points, but the takeaways are: create 2 separate sessions, okay, on the calendar, one for swimming, one for the rest of the training. All right, it makes it much easier to track those things, and it's totally up to you if you want to put a general category for swimming and then specify in the notes. Personally, I would create each exercise. If I have a 1,600-meter swim, I'm going to do a 1,600-meter swim. If I'm going to do 100-meter swimming repeats, I would set those up as a specific exercise, and by doing that, it'll allow you now to track those things over time.